Simon, can you just tell me what you found here, what you've uncovered?
Yes, certainly. We found a fair few things, but the thing that you can see right in front of us, the stone structure there, that's actually the floor and kiln area of a clay pipe manufacturing kiln. We have the kilns in front of us where the actual fire was, and they would have actually been heating the clay pipes. And the floor, you can see further on the metal railings, that's actually the dressing floor where they would have actually made the clay pipes, processed the clay, and then packed the clay pipes when they'd actually fired them.
Now, you knew this was here because I think I'm right in saying it was, what, the 1850s, the factory closed down, but how much of a history does it have and how important is it as a find?
Right, a couple of things. We did know it was here. We knew it was here by looking at early maps, and it appears on the early maps from the late 1700s onwards, and the clay pipe kiln manufacturing site seemed to have continued through to around 1850, 1851. So we did know it was here. We didn't know exactly where it was because not all of these early maps are that accurate. But on excavation, we have now found that we haven't just got parts of the clay pipe kiln factory, which is what we would expect in an urban environment, that it would have been heavily disturbed and destroyed by later buildings. We've actually got the full footprint of it, and it is very unique. Not many of these clay pipe manufacturing kilns have been found and fully exposed and fully recorded to modern archaeological standards. So in itself, it is very interesting. It's a social history, and also most of the time these things would have been destroyed when they were knocked down, became unfashionable, the buildings were pulled down completely, and we pretty much lose all of the evidence. So actually now we have actually got a really good insight into actually looking at actually how these buildings worked, and we can actually see what happened in each individual rooms and how the pipe manufacturing process actually took place. So yes, it is very important.
It's a bit of a fluke, isn't it, that they actually constructed a school playground over the area?
It sounds initially like that's not a very good idea, but actually it has been the best thing for the preservation of this, because it was demolished in 1851, flattened, and then a playground built straight over the top of that. So nothing else has actually come through and disturbed the building itself. Normally you'd find that you'd have modern buildings, you'd have modern water pipes, modern electrical pipes would have gone through and cut it and disturbed it, but nothing. So actually a playground is one of the best things, or a car park is one of the best things to actually build on top of it. So once we lifted that old surface off, we had some of the demolition rubble, we very carefully cleaned that off, and we've been left with the actual structure that you can see in front.
Is this rescue archaeology, or can it be preserved for the future?
Well, it is initially rescue archaeology, but because we have found this in the state that it is in, it is actually now going to be preserved in situ. So what we're doing is we're actually recording it fully, photographing it, surveying it, getting as much information out of it as we can, but we're not actually going to be taking apart any of the structure itself. So once it is fully recorded, it will be preserved, and we have been in discussion with the engineers and with Historic England about the best ways to preserve it, and a process has actually been now formed on how we will preserve this. So, and the building itself that we've built over it, we've made sure that none of the piles or any of the ground beams or any of the footings will actually impact on the structure. So the engineers are now in the process of rejigging the building just slightly, but enough to be able to preserve this for future generations.
Fantastic. It is a pipe factory, so I assume you found quite a few pipes.
Just one or two, yes. A very nice selection. We've got thousands and thousands of them. Most of them, or all of them, are broken, because all the pipes that we're finding are ones that would have failed during the actual firing process, or been dropped or broken accidentally. These were just discarded. They couldn't have really been used for anything else, so they were discarded, and we've found a large amount of these, what's called wasters, the same as you'd find in pottery manufacture. You know, somebody accidentally drops a pot as it comes out of the kiln, or the kiln wasn't at the right temperature. You can't reuse it, you can't recycle it, so these things were just discarded in the vicinity. There was no rubbish disposal to take these things away. So we've found large amounts of clay pipes. These are the types of clay pipes we found. Some of them have nice decorations on. Some of them have actually got the initials of the pipe manufacturer who was manufacturing the pipes at the time. And it's really nice because we can actually see some of the pipes with the initials on, and we can tie that to known historical records of who was actually owning and running the clay pipe kilns at the time, so we can actually find pipes and go, that was made by so and so and that was made by so and so. So that in itself is really nice. It gives us, again, it ties in with the social history.
You've also got a bit of a terracotta mystery in your hand.
Yeah, so not quite sure what this is. It came out of the rubble of the one of the kilns. It's a very nice clay plaque. Certainly looks like it's got a hole at the top in which it could be hung up. Of a bearded gentleman, of very much sort of late Georgian Victorian style clothing, but with a laurel wreath around the top. So looking sort of very Romanesque as well. So unfortunately it doesn't have a name or anything attached to it, but hopefully once it's cleaned up and looked at by some specialists, we might be able to get some more information on who this rather handsome gentleman was.
Who knows, somebody watching might know more.
Absolutely,
Simon,
yes.
you are just inside the medieval wall of Bath
right,
here,
yes.
and although we're sort of late Georgian Victorian on this patch, are you expecting to be able to go back further?
We are, yes. A lot depends on how deep we go. Obviously, the further down we go, the earlier the archaeology that we'll uncover. But we are only going down as far as the actual development requires us to. We're not just going to be digging down for our own sake. We're only going to be looking at areas that are going to be impacted by the new development. So everything else will be left in situ and kept under the ground, and it's only areas likely to be disturbed. But we are already in some of the areas at the further part of the site over there. We're into probably buildings that were constructed around the sort of late 1600s. And as we go further along, there will be areas where we go deeper and we will probably uncover more of the medieval history of this area. Possibly, potentially, maybe even some of the Roman, but it's unlikely that we might be going down to that depth. But if we do, it will either be preserved in situ or recorded fully by us.
Your open morning, will members of the public be able not only to see some of the site safely, but also some of the finds?
Absolutely, we will have finds on show, all cleaned up, hopefully a lot cleaner than this one is, and we'll have experts on site as well, and we'll be able to give a good guided tours and a good hands-on experience with the finds as well. People will actually be able to hold them, pick them up, touch them, look at them and find out much more information about them.